those that can make it. So I have about I'm supposed to have about 24 people on this list, but I just need to start. It's a free class, so I don't want anybody to waste my time, and I don't want to waste anybody's time. So I can see Ivan, I can see AJ, and I can see Abiodun. Okay, so I would like to start from the very basics. So I know most of us might be an expert, or most of us might be totally new. So before I start, my name is Shola, right? So I'm an Office 365 support engineer. So the initiative behind this is to try to see how I can empower as much as many people based on the knowledge that I have, and also share with people from their knowledge, because technically once you share the knowledge that you have, you tend to grow more in that knowledge. All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to start right away, and this is how it's going to be. So let me put it this way. Um, I don't really have a slide, so I want it to be a full practical session, and definitely it's going to be a practical session. So at any point in time, if you don't understand anything or you want a clarification on what I said, you can always ask questions, and I'll make sure I get back to you and try to answer your question. Okay, so.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to quickly say this, and I will start right away. Okay. So I'm going to try to do few definitions on Office 365. So when we say Microsoft 365 or Office 365, as the case may be. So before now, the general name is Office 365. But I think somewhere around last year, the name was modified, and they want to adopt what we call Microsoft 365. So when you see Microsoft 365 or O365, in the real sense, they are trying to refer to the same thing. So it's just like a name that they want to adopt. Okay, so that is just the general information about that. So when we say Office 365 or Microsoft 365, so it's actually a cloud uh, solution. So let me quickly say something about cloud, in case many of us might not be familiar. So I don't want to assume we all are been into this. I know most of us are gurus, but at least let me just do it for the sake of those that are not, right? So when we say cloud, cloud is just like you having a server. Maybe someone has a server and the person is renting a space to you. So you purchased or rent a space, and then you are using that space to do your own activities. So in the side of Microsoft, we have so many cloud provider. Microsoft is a major player. We have Amazon, we have Oracle, and we have Google. So many of them. So, but the major player in the market are Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Oracle. Those seems to be the major player, at least right now. So when we talk about cloud generally, people tends to break cloud into three major parts. So we have the infrastructure as a service, we have the software as a service, and then we have the platform as a service, right? So I'm not going to talk about any of those ones. So I'll just talk about the one that is actually related to what we are trying to do. So as I said, we have okay, okay, I would answer the question. So as I said, we have infrastructure as a service, we have software as a service, and then we have platform as a service. So you can note that if you want to take note. So someone dropped a question, so let me quickly try to check that. So it said, why it was called Office 365 earlier, and now is okay. Fine. So as far as I know, nothing really happens, right? They are just trying to make it. Let me call it. They are just trying to brand the name as such. Okay, but when we get to licensing of Office 365, we are going to notice some slight difference in that Office 365 and M365, right? But for now, when you hear Office 365 or M365, they are technically referring to the same thing, generally Office 365. Okay, right. So let me go back to what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to say that we have cloud as a service, infrastructure, and a platform as a service. So the one that we are going to focus on, that we are going to dwell on, is software as a service. So you will ask me, why software as a service? So before I try to explain, let me quickly explain each of those offerings, or let me say classifications, so that we can have a broad overview. So when we say infrastructure as a service, so it simply means that you have, okay, you want to get a computer from a provider. Let me put it that way. Let's say Microsoft in this case. So in that case, you are going to create your own virtual machine, like create your own virtual computer on Microsoft infrastructure. So it means that you are going to build everything by yourself. You build your computer, you build your virtual machine, and then you install your application, you install everything you want to install on that machine, and you undo the updating of applications, updating of software, and installing every necessary things you need. So that is the infrastructure as a service. They call it infrastructure because you will need to actually build your own system by yourself. That is what they call it. Then when we now say software as a service, software as a service has to do with software application. For example, Office 365 is an example of a software as a service. So when they say software as a service, it simply means that you have a software, or let's say Microsoft has a software that they have already built. So you are just coming into the software and you are just using the software. So you are subscribing to the software without you knowing anything about the software. All you just need to do is you pay for subscription and you are using the software. That is the software as a service. Then platform as a service, on the other hand, means that Microsoft has a platform. So those that are into, let's say, they are doing app deployment, or you want to deploy something that has to do with, let's say, most times usually used, maybe you want to deploy a database, you want to deploy web application and all that. So if you want to deploy that kind of application, you need to install certain things, like you prepare your system, you might need to install different application. But when you are using platform as a service, Microsoft already has that platform. They have installed everything for you. You just need to go and deploy your application and you can start using it. So that is platform as a service. But we are not interested in infrastructure, we are not interested in platform, we are interested in software as a service. So Office 365 is an example of a software as a service. So Microsoft has the Office 365, they built it, everything is ready. You are just subscribing into the service, you are paying for it, and then you are using it. So that is generally what the software as a service is all about, and that is why we are focusing on software as a service, which is Office 365. So now let me now go to Office 365 as a software as a service. So what is Office 365, or what is Microsoft 365? So most thing you will see is, like they will call it, is a suite of application. So when we say a suite of application, it means it contains different type of applications. So all the applications that are bundles in Office 365, more are coming, they are adding more applications, but generally we have some major aspects of Office 365 applications. So which most of them are, let me try to list some of them. I may not be able to remember everything, but as we go into it one by one, we get to discover more of it and we talk about them one by one. So the most common one of it is Exchange Online, right? We have Exchange Online, we have SharePoint Online, we have OneDrive, we have Office apps, right? So let me quickly try to share my screen so that I can I can start doing some things here. Okay, so let me share my screen so we can do something. Let me see. Let me see. Sorry. Okay. Can we all see my screen? Hello?
Yes,
Can
we
we?
can.
All right. All right.
We
So,
can see your screen.
can you see it?
Can see your screen.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I just log out now, right? So, if we want to go into Office 365, or let's say you want to log on to Office 365, right? So, I've created an account for each and every one of us, so you can play around that, but that is just for communication purpose, right? So each and every one of us, we need to create our own test environment because that is the only way we can learn, right? So you will create the test environment, you will play with it, and in the test environment you will be able to do whatsoever you want to do on that test environment, right? So that is that, but let's just use this for example. This is what I have. So when I have let's say I want to log on to my Office 365 or my software as a service that I have subscribed to. So the best way to do that is just to go to office.com. That is just the most shortest way. You can go through any means, whatever, right? So just go to office.com, right? So when you go to office.com, you will see this. Then if you have an account, then you can sign in. So right now I'm going to sign in so that I can show us some things, right? So so at any point if you have any question, please you can just let me know, right? So you can drop it via chat or you can just cut me in and then ask your question, right? So when we go to Office 365 page, this is what we see most of the time, right? So like as I said, we have Office 365 being a suite of application, right? So on the left pane here, you have most of all the applications here. We have more of them, not all are showing here. We have more, right? So when you log on as a user, like the account I created for you guys, if you log on, right, you will log on as a user. You are not going to be an administrator because I created everyone as a user, not an administrator. Okay, so when you log on as a user, you will see everything here except this, which is the admin interface. So this is where we do all the admin stuff. But if you are not an admin, you cannot see this admin icon, right? So let's say I'm logging in as a user, right? So when I log in as a user, I see this, right? So when let me click on the office, this is so at that point I have every of the application here. So most of us might be familiar with this icon, most of us might not. So let me quickly run through everything here so that at least we can be familiarize ourselves with the interface. I'm doing this for the benefit of those that are completely new on this. And sorry, please. Sorry if you want to ask any question, please just ask your question. Don't be shy at all. So at some point, everybody is a novice, right? So no matter how you feel the question might be, it might also help someone. So on this left side here, we have all the common applications here. So when I say suite of application in the my last definition, right? So we have Office Online, right? Office Online is part of cloud as a service of Office 365, but it is not necessarily let me call it a paid subscription in Office 365, because Office Online is also available for normal free Microsoft account. So let me quickly say something in that regard. So when I say normal free Microsoft account, we usually refer to it as live account. That is LAIV, live account. So the live accounts are the outlook.com, right? So just know that term. We call it live account. So the live account is the normal outlook.com account. Okay. So that is that. So someone is saying, can a user change his own password? Yes, you can change your password at any time. Okay. So you can change your password anytime you want to change it, depending on how they configure uh, your tenant, right? So let me quickly answer that tenant something, right? So sorry if I say any term that I feel might be strange to you, I would like to define it, right? So when I say tenant, so in Office 365 or M365, there's what we call tenant. So tenant is just like, let me say, a jargon, the way it were. So there's nothing special to it. So it just means normal tenant that you normally know. So tenant means like Microsoft is your landlord, right? And each account that is opened on Office 365 is referred to as a tenant, right? So remember I said it's a cloud. So cloud and then software as a service. So in the software as a service being the main thing. So every account that is created on Office 365 is referred to as tenant. So you'll be hearing me saying tenant, tenant, tenant. So that is what tenant means, right? So back to your question, Samuel. Every user can change their own password depending on how or the configuration on the tenant, right? So let me go back to what I was trying to say. So I was trying to say uh, Office Online. So Office Online is not really a paid service. It's also available for all uh, live accounts, right? So it's not really a paid service. So when I say Office Online, what it simply means is that you can use Office application, but it is online. Now, we have Office application that you can download, and then we have Office application you can use online. So virtually, the Office Online is usually free for most all Microsoft accounts. So, but if you want the one you can download, you have to have the subscription to do that. Okay. So I hope you can still see my screen. So I'm trying to scroll across here. So you can see this is let me click here. So these are some of the applications that you usually see here, because those are the most used. So if you click on all apps, so you can see them, a whole lot of them. So what you will see here most times will depend on the type of subscription that you have, right? So let me now quickly say something about subscription. So in Office 365, when you create your tenant, right? So you determine what you want to do, because what you are doing depending on the service that you subscribe to. Now let me put this so we understand it better. Some people will say, I only need mailbox. Some people will say, I need Microsoft Teams. I want my own Microsoft Teams to make call, right? Some people will say, okay, my own Microsoft Teams, I want you to do audio conferencing. Some people will say, okay, the OneDrive that I want a larger space of OneDrive. So all these things boils down to the subscription. So the subscription you are using will determine how much mailbox space, how much features you have in the services that you are using. So Office 365 is a subscription based stuff, or let me say subscription based application. So you subscribe to the service that you want to use, and you pay for it monthly or yearly, depending on what you bargain for, right? So I'm trying to say something here. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, so these are Office online applications, right? Now we have Outlook, right? So let me quickly say something in this Outlook. Now, there is difference between Outlook and Exchange. So typically there is a difference between Exchange and Outlook. So what brought me to that is this Outlook here. So Exchange is the mailbox itself, right? Then Outlook is the client through which you are accessing the mailbox. So for example, if you have Exchange, right, you can use any other mail client to access your mailbox. For example, there is this free mailbox mail application, Thunderbolt. I think it's open source something. So you can use it to access your mailbox, right? So I just want to say that so that we'll have that in mind. So we have Outlook. Outlook is like an application that is accessing your Exchange, whereas Exchange is your real mailbox, right? So this is Outlook, for example. So you can have Outlook on the web. So sometimes we call it OWA. So anytime you hear OWA, you are referring to Outlook on the web. So I think OWA is really Outlook on the web. So I don't know. Okay, I think the real meaning of OWA is Outlook Web Access, right? So what we refer to Outlook on the web, which is Outlook. So this is OneDrive. So I think we all know what is Outlook now. So Outlook is the application that's connecting to your mailbox, which is Exchange itself, right? So then OneDrive. So OneDrive is like a storage, just like we have in Google Drive. So it's exactly the same thing as OneDrive. So the OneDrive itself is the storage, so you can access it through the cloud, and then you can also download an application to do that, right? So that is OneDrive. So I've talked about Word, nothing much to talk about. We all know Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. So most might not be familiar with OneNote. So OneNote is just like a jotter. Let me put it that way. It's just like a jotter. So, but it's very advanced. So most of you can use it. Maybe while we are talking, you can jot something with it on your own computer. So I'm not here to teach you how to use applications. So I want to just focus on the administration aspect of it. So the reason why I'm saying this, so I created an account for every one of us, although it's not an admin account. So you can also play with it and do few things there. Familiarize yourself with that interface. So although we are also going to create a test environment where you will be practicing everything you are doing, right? So but that test account is basically for our communication, and then you can also familiarize yourself with everything you are doing, the Office 365 interface. So OneNote is just like a notebook. Let me put it that way. You can jot stuff, and it's very good for jotting. I usually use it very well. So SharePoint. So SharePoint is very vast, right? You cannot really define it. So, but most people use it for anything you want to use it for. So, but the way most people use it, right? We use it as like most people use it as like intranet for an organization. So I hope we know what I mean by intranet, right? So it's like a website that is accessible to only member of organization in a company. So you can create a site, and the site can contain most of the information that we use in our organization, maybe our file, our whatever, anything. anything. So it depends on how you want to use SharePoint. You can use it as most people use it as a file storage. So most people also extend SharePoint. They develop custom application on it and they do a lot of stuff on it. So it's very wide in itself, right? So that is SharePoint. So we have Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft Teams is like let's say it's a communication application. It's also very vast in itself, right? So you can do a lot of stuff on Microsoft Teams. You can make phone calls to normal phone numbers. You can do normal video call as we are doing like this, chat and all that on Microsoft Teams. So I don't really want to talk about those things. So booking is like let me call it maybe you have okay, before I talked about booking, so you might not see this in uh every subscription, right? So it's only available in a particular subscription we call business premium. So I don't want to bombard it with all those many times now. So, but just know that generally everything you are seeing here will depend on the subscription that you have, right? So booking, as I'm saying, is like an application that you can use in your organization. Maybe you are doing a professional service, like maybe you are a doctor or a lawyer, whatever. So you can send, when people want to come and consult you for whatever, they can book a schedule on that stuff, on that booking. So most people use it very well, but it depends. Then Yama is like let me say organization WhatsApp, something like that. So then Power Automate. Power Automate is like let me call it uh when you want to build like something like custom event, or let's say custom I don't want to call it custom application, but custom application is also very right. So I don't want to call it custom application, but maybe you want to something to trigger something. Maybe when so users send an email, something should send this to that. So it's a very wide stuff in its own, Power Automate. So if you are interested in it, you can go to it. Then form is just like the page that we all fill to access this lecture. I created it using Microsoft Form. So it's also something you can play around with at your own leisure time, right? So I'm saying all this, I'm just trying to touch everything in the normal interface of Office 365 so that we can know what it is generally. So where I'm interested in and what I want to talk about really is the admin interface part of it, right? So as I said, the account that I created for you guys on this Office 365, you are not going to see admin because I did not create you as an admin, right? So you won't see admin. So it will not show. So, but we are going to create a test environment where we are going to be your own admin. You'll be able to do anything you want to do there, right? So, as an admin, which I want to see us as an admin now, right? So, being an admin in Office 365, you ask yourself, so what are your duties and what will you do? Now, there are a lot of things you can do as an Office 365 administrator, right? So basically, you will manage users, you will create mailbox, you will fix any issues that comes up. You are going to configure the environment, make sure that you can disable something, you can whatever, you are in charge, right? So when you want to access your environment in Office 365, as I said, so once you log on to office.com, you can see something like this, right? Then you can scroll down, you will see the admin, being the admin. Sometimes you might not see it here. Just click on this, you will see admin. Then you click on admin. So now we are now on the admin interface, loading, right? So now you can go directly to the admin page if you wish. So I think the URL is admin.microsoft.com. So if you can go directly, you can see there. So you can go directly to it. So when you click on the admin interface, right, this is what you see. Now on the left hand side, you see all sorts of things here. So don't just be carried away with everything you are seeing here. We touch everything one by one, and we're going to understand what we do and how to do, or what we use each of them for, right? So when you click on admin, this is what you see on the left hand side. So this is where you play around with all the menu, all the interface, right? So as an admin, you need to familiarize yourself with everything here, everything. You might not know all the functions, right? But at least you will have idea. I cannot boast that I know every function in Office 365. It's not possible. I'm also learning as well, right? So the more you work with it, the more you get to know it, the more you become professional in doing stuff there, right? So that is it. So when you click on admin, this is where you find yourself. So the first thing we see here is the users, right? So this is the users menu. So where you managed your users, right? You want to create users. This is where you come to do that, right? Sorry, please. Okay. So that is the first thing. So I'm going to try to talk about this first menu here, which is the user. So once I'm done with that, I think we can stop there for today, right? So the first thing is active users, right? So when you click on active users, so the active users is where you see all the users in your organization. So these are all the users that I have on this my test environment, right? So and this is my organization name, Contoso, right? So Contoso is like it's a Microsoft test whatever environment. So the organization will be showing here, Contoso. So active users. Then on the top here you have series of menus. As you can see, add users, user templates, add multiple users. We still have some menu here. Multi-factor authentication, delete user, refresh, reset, blah blah blah. So everything, most of them are self-explanatory, right? But you have to play with them to get your hands dirty, right? So let me start from here. So here is filter. So you can filter all the users here, all users, billing admin, right? So let me quickly talk about some of these things I'm seeing here so that you can try to, I'm not trying to rush. I'm not in haste, right? So we'll be doing it as much as we can. So the progress is very important. So I'm not rushing at all. So billing admin, right? It is the type of admin in Office 365. So what they do is they manage billing, and it has to do with payments of subscription in Office 365. So you now ask yourself, why is billing admin? So for example, there's what we call RBAC. Most of all must have heard it before. Role-based access control, right? That is meaning of RBAC, RABAC, role-based access control. So what it means is that generally is you are giving the only privilege that is useful to your own role. Let's say, for example, we have different departments in an organization. You cannot give everybody global admin. So I mentioned global admin. Let me quickly tell you what it means. Now, global admin is the highest level of admin right in Office 365. Global admin. This is it. Global admin is the highest level of right in Office 365. So if you have global admin, you can do everything at all you can do. You know, that is global admin. So I'm saying something, you cannot give everybody in your organization a global admin right because some people don't need it. For example, someone that is managing billing, what the person want to go and do in exchange, so they don't need it. So you give all admin roles based on the function that the person will perform. So later you will see different type of admin role and how to assign them. So let's just have that at the back of it. We'll see it later. So this is admin, billing admin, global admin, the highest level of admin. Then we have guest users. So let me quickly say something about guest users. So who are guest users, right? Guest users, just as an English word, guest. So guest in relation to whether they are a member of your organization or they are from another organization, right? So now, but there is something in guests that we need to understand. Now, we have a guest user and we can also have what we call external users, right? So in most cases, right, if let's say Mr. A is from ABC company, then Mr. B is from XYZ company, right? So ABC company has Office 365. XYZ company has Office 365 tenants. So they have their own tenant. ABC also have their own tenant, right? So when XYZ user is coming to ABC company, we can see ABC company as external user, and we can also see them as guests. So guest and external user, they are somehow interrelated. But the most important thing is that when we are talking about external users are another users that also has Office 365 tenants. But guest user in most cases are those that does not have Office 365 tenants. So like somebody that is using Gmail like gmail.com, yahoo.com, all these free mail services. So we can refer to them as guests generally. So if you want to filter by guests, so let me just click one filter so that we see how it works. So filter, so you can see it's filtering. So I don't have any guests here, so that is why. So let me filter all global admin. So you can see it's filter all the people that are global admin. So this is a way to help you do a quick sorting kind of, right? So uh, help desk admin is a type of admin also. So what you can do is you can read about all the function of the admins and see how it differs, right? So there's something I would like to tell us. So most times we need to learn how to Google in Office 365. If you want to be an Office 365 admin, there is no way you cannot run away from it, right? So for example, I say admin roles in Office 365. So it's something that you can always see. So most times when you want to check, you can maybe we see different things, but most times we just go to Microsoft Docs, right? So that is where we, as a source of authority anyway. So we can also check other sites, but at least you come to Office 365 to confirm first, right? So so you can see common rules. So billing admin, you can see the exchange admin, global admin, global reader. So you can come and see all what they do here. So I may not be able to tell you everything. So you can just you see how I Google it. So just Google it. You can come and see different admin role here. So but basically just have in mind that we have uh different roles, right? So I'm checking my time. This is 8:15, so we have to stop by 8:30 anyways. So help desk, licensed user. So licensed user, like user that are licensed. So service support admin. So sign in allow, sign in block. So these are just sorting anyway, so don't let me waste time here. So I believe all the grammars here we all should understand them. So at least they are quite English words, right? So that is the sorting. So when I click here, I have some other menu. So let me say something here. Most of the menu here are contextual, right? Like what you click determines what will show up. You understand? So we need to know that. So but when you click here, you can see different things. So let me start from the bottom to the top. So Teams setup status, right? So this is Microsoft Teams. Let's say you created you set up a new user and you want to see if the teams are finished provisioning, right? So that can be show under the team setup status. So I click this now. So that's why the context change. So team setup status, if I check it, so it will show the status of teams in my organization for the users. So you can see these are complete, not signing. So most of these are English words, so you can just play around with them, right? So that is team setup status. So directory synchronization. So let me quickly say something about this. It's quite, it's not quite, I wanted to say it's advanced, but it's not advanced, right? So directory synchronization, let me quickly just say what it means, right? So when we say directory synchronization, now what it means is this: before now, right, uh, we usually have server on the on-premise, right? So the server on the on-premise is what we call Active Directory. Maybe some of us are familiar with that. So Active Directory, the on-premise server, is what we call the Active Directory. So the type of Active Directory we have in the cloud that manage our objects is what we call Azure Active Directory. So on the on-premise, we have Active Directory, which is our local server. For the cloud, we have Azure Active Directory. So what is Azure Active Directory? So Azure Active Directory is the server for your own tenant. Let me put it that way. So Azure Active Directory is the backbone of everything you are doing in Office 365, because the Azure Active Directory is like the server that is where which all the objects are created, right? So for example, all these users that I have here, I have them on Azure Active Directory. So let me quickly show you and jump there. See Azure Active Directory here. So I click Azure Active Directory. So it's trying to load up. So this is Azure Active Directory here, right? Where all my objects are loaded. So this is another word on its own, right? But I just try to jump in there so that we can see it, right? So this is another word on its own. So back to where I'm coming from. So Azure Active Directory, what made me to this explanation is this: synchronization, that is synchronization. So now some users or maybe some big organization, before now they are using on-premise server. Even most people are still using on-premise server up to now to manage their users, right? So now let's say, for example, someone that is using on-premise server for the past 8 years or whatever, they now want to come to Office 365. Are they going to create all the users they have on the on-premise on the cloud again? No. So what they do is there's what we call directory synchronization. So what is directory synchronization doing? It's actually trying to pick all the objects you have on your on-premise server and then sync it to Office 365. So you don't need to create those users again. Once you do directory synchronization, it will sync all the objects on the on-premise to Azure Active Directory, which is the cloud Active Directory. So, and the application that is helping you to achieve that is what we call AD Connect. AD Connect. So don't mind, we'll still get there. I'm just showing you. So AD Connect. So the AD Connect is the application that you will install on your on-premise server, and that will now perform the directory synchronization. You pick all the objects on your local server and sync it to the Azure Active Directory server. And most times, if those users you have on the on-premise have been created on the cloud before now, right? Provided the user on the on-premise has the same email address as the user on the cloud, most time it match them together into one. But in most cases, they don't get match. So when they don't get match, there's what we call hard matching and soft matching. So we'll get there later. So what took me that far is because of this directory synchronization that I saw here. That's why I go that far. So what is this directory synchronization? So it will just show me the directory synchronization tools that has been installed here. So I don't think I have it on this my tenant. So it's just leading me to where I can download the AD Connect, and so if I install this AD Connect now, it will now help me to sync the object I have on my local Active Directory to the cloud. So we'll come there later. So that is the broad knowledge of directory synchronization, right? So the export user will download all the user in in CSV format, comma separated value. So reset, we know what it means. Refresh, refresh, nothing to talk about. Delete, delete user, nothing to talk about. So multi-factor authentication. So let me quickly say something about this. So most likely we might stop here. So what is multi-factor authentication? So multi-factor authentication is like you are creating a second layer of authentication, right, for your account. So what we mean by second layer is that when you have put in your password, right, a code will be sent to maybe your mobile number, or some people use what we call YubiKey. So there are different methods of doing that, but the most important thing is that you have second type of authentication that you are using, and they refer to as two-factor. They call it two-step or two-factor. So most times multi-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication. So that's what it means. So you can set it up for your user account. So when you set it up, it means after you put in a password, a code might be sent to your phone number, or you can use Microsoft Authenticator, or you can use what we call YubiKey. So different way. So for some people say they usually call it what you have, what you know, and I think there's three terms they usually call it. What you have, that is what you have is maybe YubiKey. What you know, maybe it can ask you where you were born or something, or maybe what you have. So they put it that way. But the bottom line is you are being asked a second way of logging in, so that maybe, for example, the account was compromised. So when an account is compromised, which means the hackers already have your password. So when the hacker tries to log on to your account, they will be query for the second level of authentication, which where the two-factor will now come in, right? So, and since they don't have the second factor because they don't have your phone, they don't have your thumb because it is your thumb that you use to activate YubiKey. They don't know your secret number, whatever. So they cannot access your account. So it's another layer of authentication that it's really advisable for every user to have it, right? Because it actually stops most fraud, about 95% of it. So it's really advisable everybody set up to fast authentication. So I think I will have to stop here for today, right? So I don't know if anybody have any question.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, please quickly put it across.
Yes, so what I just want to ask is the account you created for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, when do we get the login details?
Okay. Didn't I send it to you? You
Well,
didn't receive it in your email.
I didn't receive it in my email. I've checked all the emails.
Okay.
I saw
Okay, no
something
problem.
that mentioned it, but I didn't get it in my mail.
Okay, no problem. I would send it across. So basically what I did is I just used your first name, right? And your first name at exabyteacademy.ml. So I created a default password, right? Which once you log in, you can now change it to whatsoever you like, right? So as I said earlier, the account is just for us to, because what I'm doing, I will not be putting in a public link like this, right? So every communication, I will advise us to be using the chat. So I will be dropping the communication there, and I'll be using the email on the account as well to pass across information, so that I will not be trying to look for everybody's email one by one. So I've already created a group for us there, so I'll be using that group. So, and if you are reading anything or doing anything and you come across something that you want to ask, you can also drop it on the chat there. So I will be checking the chats every now and then. If I see something I can answer, and some other person can also answer as well too. So anyone with anything again?
No.
All right. So as I said, our next class would also happen on weekend like this. So I want it to be a weekend. So I don't want it most time. I maybe it might be Saturday, Sunday, but let's be doing it Saturday alone for now. Okay. So maybe at some point or maybe later when we deem it is necessary, we can put it Saturday, Sunday, or but let's be doing only Saturday 1 hour every week like this. So or maybe if necessary and we all are available, you can also factor something maybe during the week 30 minutes whatever. So but everybody should be aware of that. So that will be communicated on the chat there, so you can just let us know, or if you think we should meet. Most times I want it to be towards this time that I don't know, maybe some guys that are not in this our time zone. I'm sorry, I think Zia Ivan. So I'm just sorry that it's not really good for your time zone, but I don't just know how to do. But sometimes you can change it most of the time. So I think we should call it a day for now. If you don't have any question, so but if you still have any further question, you can also send me a private message. I will try as much as to answer you. So next week, by God's grace, we will try to first thing we do is we'll try to create our own test environment, right? And once we create our own test environment, it will give you opportunity to be able to browse through it and scatter it and break it, right? So you don't need to fear whether it will break us or you will not break. Allow it to break. You understand? Spoil it. That is the only way we can learn. So spoil it, scatter it. So that's why I did not give you admin rights in this one, so that I cannot come and scatter this one. So by the time you create your own test environment, you can scatter it, destroy it, whatever. So that is how you learn. You get. So